Throughout the years, the United States has gone through many changes. Many innovations have been made throughout history to help or change the way we think or do things. These innovations have changed history and continue to as time progresses. One innovation that has become timeless is the electric guitar. It has impacted and changed history through music. Almost every genre of music is affected by this significant innovation. It has used science and music to affect society, race, the economy, and overall American history. Les Paul is the one man who created many significant inventions that shaped music today. He began playing the guitar at a young age and dropped out of high school at 17 to play in Sonny Joe Wolverton's radio band. Later he married singer Mary Ford and they began to experiment with technology, which led him to discovering overdubbing and multi-track recording. Both innovations made recording much more convenient, though he is most famous for creating the perfect solid body guitar, the Gibson Les Paul. The new model allowed the guitar to amplify pure string vibration while still keeping the wood involved in the sound. His impact on U.S. history is huge because the music we listen to and create today is all affected by his creations and ideas. Our music would never be the same without his technological and creative influence in science.
Well, the amazing thing about Les Paul was when people started originally listening to those records, he was playing these impossible things. Nobody could play what was on those records, and it was an amazing sound. Come to find out, he was the first person to kind of invent overdubbing, where he would play something, and then he would play that back and then play something on top of it again. And this amazed everybody. And eventually he came up with the process of multi-tracking, which is the way everything is recorded nowadays. You record everything separately and then mix it together. And so modern music wouldn't sound the way it does today without Les Paul. Starting from his records on, we started paying a lot more attention to each individual track and recording it separately and then mixing it all together later. And not only did he come up with that idea, but he invented the technology that we use still to this day to do that.
Well, multi-tracking totally changed the way that we record. Before then, you had to get a group of musicians and singers in a room together and basically capture a perfect performance from start to finish. And with multi-tracking and overdubbing, we've been able to, instead of recording just 2 tracks left and right, and then actually in the old days it was just mono, just a single channel.
In the 70s, they made 3 styles of Les Pauls. They made Les Paul Customs, Les Paul Deluxes, and Les Paul Standards. The Deluxes had smaller pickups, which were chrome, and single binding on the front, whereas the Les Paul Standard had humbuckers, but the Custom was their top of the line, which has binding on the fronts and back, all gold hardware, and real nice inlay on the headstock, where others just said Les Paul.
In 1998, a series of tornadoes attacked the southeast, destroying everything. When the tornado struck Tennessee, they destroyed the 200-year-old trees on Andrew Jackson's plantation, the Hermitage. The house was intact, but the trees were completely destroyed and had to be cut down. The wood from the trees was sent to Gibson Guitar Factory, where they turned the mauled trees into Gibson Les Paul models. The guitar was designed for Andrew Jackson in the Hermitage, named the Old Hickory model. These guitars were dedicated to the bravery in Nashville when dealing with the tornadoes which destroyed the economy. By turning a terrible situation into a happy one, the Old Hickory guitar impacted and changed American history.
What Gibson does is whenever they have an opportunity to use real good woods or certain woods, they always build certain guitars in a run of guitars, a special run. They may build 50, they may build 100, they may build 20, depending on what they can, what kind of wood they can get. And what they did with one called the Old Hickory, it was Andrew Jackson, and when there was big storms in the South, and when the Hermitage was destroyed, a lot of these trees that were hundreds of year old, thousands of year old trees, this wood has been growing for a long time. So rather than just destroy that wood, Gibson used that wood, the hickory wood, and built some guitars.
In the time of the 1960s and 70s, the U.S. was in a war with Vietnam. A substantial amount of American citizens pleaded for the Love Not War cause. The young citizens in this time were rebellious, some anti-government, and the music reflected it. In this time of so much corruption amongst the people pleading for peace, music was everything. With society so colorful, major companies like Fender realized there was a big profit to be made by appealing to this group of people. After experimenting with different designs and styles, Fender Guitar chose their solid body Telecaster to receive the psychedelic treatment. The two models were the pink paisley and later the floral blue, both intended to catch the eye of young hippies. These guitars were a piece of fine art that emphasized the color and emotions of society. Reflecting the style of society at the time, the Fender Paisley Telecaster impacted and changed society through art.
Building paisley colored guitars in 1968 when all the psychedelic things were going on in Haight-Ashbury and in California, and they made a Stratocaster and a Telecaster in paisley, and they were pink paisley and blue paisley, and so there were two guitars and two different colors, and today those guitars are very, very expensive if you can find them. Fender has reissued them several times over the years, but the original 1968 ones are thousands and thousands of dollars now. But that's how all the paisley stuff started. It started out as a psychedelic color, and the actual thing of the paisley came in the rock concerts in the late 60s. They would take an overhead projector and they would mix colored oil in water and spin it around, and that's how they would do their light shows. And a paisley came from an oil being dipped in water and stirred with a pencil, and you can see how the little tail would come around on it. So that's where the actual shape came from, and it went to buses and the Partridge Family and guitars and shirts and everything you can imagine over the last 40 years.
Jazz is one of the only musical genres derived completely in the United States. The impact and change on race was huge in New Orleans. Jazz came from the African American culture combined with the European instruments. The foundation of jazz is the blues. From the chord progressions to the solemn lyrics, it's where it all began. Race impacted and changed American history through jazz and through music. Today, the creators of jazz have the respect they should have had originally, and their music is valued even outside of America. And it all began in New Orleans. The electric guitar is different in jazz than it is in any other genre. It is more rhythmic and plays chords, while the horns and sometimes even the bass get more of the spotlight. The electric guitar in jazz impacted and changed American history by being a starting point to end segregation in the United States. Music is an expression. It is the way of showing the emotion, style, or problems in something. It impacts and changed American history itself every day, from the songs climbing the charts to the new techniques being exercised today. The electric guitar has changed all music through its iconic presence, sound, and new opportunities. It has truly changed the way people think, listen, and write music, and so it has changed American history. It is a timeless innovation that can never die out. The electric guitar has truly impacted and changed American history in nearly every aspect. Overall, it is an incredible innovation that has changed music forever and will always keep changing, like music and like America.
So be careful where